Okay, so today, writers, I want to talk about how you become your own captain for your own writing. And what that means, being a captain means you take charge of it. And there's lots of ways to do that and lots of ways for us to become our own captain. So let's talk about what we need to do to become our own captain in our writing. And we're going to use my sister's story as my example today. Today, I want to teach you that one way writers figure out plans for getting parts of their writing done is they think back over everything they know how to do and they make a work plan for the upcoming parts of their writing. Writers sometimes use charts in their own writing to remind them of stuff that they know how to do. So sometimes when I'm doing my writing, I might need to go back and look at some old writings and go, hey, that was some really good vocabulary in there. I rocked that writing. Or I might want to go back and look at, maybe I'm struggling with some transition words. So I need to go back and look at a list of transition words. Or maybe I need to watch a quick video on how to use a transition word in my writing. Or maybe I go back to some of my other writings and think, man, I did really good on that. I noticed that transition word where I gave for example, for instance, and another reason, or whatever your transition word is to go to that next idea. And so writers don't always just get their paper out and start writing. Like there's lots of different plans that they do before they get to that drafting point. You've got to get your evidence together. So like I have to have a place to come up with my reasons, but I also need to come up with my examples. So like when I list these, maybe out to the side, I'm going to give that mini story. Not like the whole story, but just the idea of it so I can remember it as I'm planning out my story. List true stories that match my reason. And that's kind of what we just talked about. Like when I'm coming up with my reasons, I want to give true stories that go with it because it makes it personal. It makes it more interesting for the reader. We want to choose the best evidence. So sometimes some of you are like, well, can I give more than 3 reasons? Well, not really. Like I want you to keep 3 or 2, even 2 sometimes if they're really big reasons with really big stories. And so you want to choose the very, very best reasons, not just little reasons that you just kind of add in there because you want to make your story bigger, but strong, good reasons. So maybe you make a big list and then you go back through it and you decide these 2 or 3 are probably my best reasons. Maybe sometimes I need to check my order like we did here. 1, 2, 3. Like the way I wrote it out is not how I'm going to write it in my paper because I want to talk about this one last. So then I stop and I plan it out. Which one am I going to talk about first? And I've already written out to here the story that goes with it. So I'm ready to give my reasons and my examples, and I know what order it's going to go in. Boy, I've built a big paper by now. And then sometimes it is good to just rehearse your story with a partner. Like I talk out my stories to you all the time, especially here in class. Like I'm constantly telling my stories to other kids. And so sometimes maybe you just need to read it out loud. Like my sister is my favorite because she cooks amazing food. She loves my kids. And more than anything, she's always there for me. One reason my sister is my favorite is because she cooks amazing food. For example, when the holidays roll around, I'll always wait for her to send out the big message of what she's bringing at Christmas time. This year, she brought the buffalo chicken like I talked about in the other video yesterday. And so I talk out my story first so I know what I'm going to write about and I'm ready. And then I go draft that story or type it or write it, whatever you're doing, to get ready for it. But it's not just I just put my title and my reasons and I'm ready to write. Like it has to be built. It has to be planned. So when you're working on your paper today, maybe you need to stop and you need to look at your reasons and you need to make sure, do I have a story to go with my reasons? And maybe you need to stop and not write anymore today yet until you talk that story out with someone and they're like, oh, that's a really good story. I did not know that, or that flowed really good together, or hey, why don't you add a transition word in there? So stop and think as you're talking it out, what else do I need to add before I draft my story?